You gave my daughter a birthday that belonged only to her.
Daniel Ashford had been aboard the diplomatic vessel Meridian Accord for 11 days when he heard the crying. It was faint, muffled by the hum of the ship's recycled air, coming from a side corridor near the observation deck. Daniel was an engineer, not a diplomat, and he had no business wandering past the neutral zones reserved for the Athari delegation. But the sound stopped him cold. It was the unmistakable sound of a child trying very hard not to be heard. He rounded the corner and found her, a small blue-skinned girl in an ivory dress stitched with gold thread, knees pulled to her chest, hiding in the shadow between two support struts. Her pointed ears drooped, and tears cut pale trails down her cheeks. She looked up at him with wide, startled eyes the color of deep water. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, wiping her face. "I am not supposed to be seen like this." "Hey, it's okay," Daniel said, crouching to her level, careful to keep his distance. "I won't tell anyone. What's your name?" "Leora," she whispered. "Princess Leora Calith of Viralun." Daniel's stomach dropped slightly. He knew the name, everyone on the ship did. She was the reason for this entire voyage, the heir being escorted to Earth's orbital station for the signing of the first Athari-Human Alliance treaty. Today, according to the ship's schedule pinned in the mess hall, was also her 9th birthday. "Shouldn't you be celebrating?" he asked gently. Leora's chin trembled. "There is no celebration. My mother says a birthday feast would be inappropriate during treaty negotiations. She says our people are watching, and the humans are watching, and everyone must see that Viralun takes this alliance seriously. There is no room for a cake." She said the word cake like it belonged to a language she'd only read about in stories. Daniel sat back on his heels, thinking. Then he remembered. His own birthday had been 3 days ago, and his sister back on Earth had insisted on packing a small preserved cake into his personal cargo allotment, a real one, vanilla with white buttercream, sealed in a stasis tin so it would survive the transit. He hadn't touched it. He'd been saving it, telling himself he'd share it with the crew once the mission's tension eased. "Wait here," he said. "1 minute. I promise." He sprinted to his quarters, retrieved the tin, and found a single birthday candle in his emergency kit, the kind included in ration packs for morale. Absurdly, but there it was. He lit it with his multi-tool spark igniter and carried the cake back down the corridor, shielding the flame with his palm. Leora's eyes went enormous when she saw him return. "Happy birthday, Princess," Daniel said, kneeling and holding out the plate. "It's not much of a feast, but it's real, and it's yours." For a long moment, Leora only stared at the candle's small flame, as if she didn't quite believe it was allowed to exist. Then she began to cry again, but differently this time, her shoulders shaking with something closer to relief than sorrow. She reached out and gently touched the frosting with one fingertip, tasting it like she was testing whether it was a dream. "No one has ever done something only for me," she said. "Everything I have is for Viralun, even my own birthday." "Then blow out the candle," Daniel said softly. "Just for you. Nobody else has to know." She closed her eyes and blew. The flame died in a thin curl of smoke, and for the first time since he'd found her, Leora smiled. A real smile, small and unguarded. Neither of them heard the footsteps until it was too late to hide anything. Queen Saren Calith stood at the end of the corridor, flanked by 2 of her armored guards, Thalin and Corvus. Her hand had flown to her mouth in shock, and for one terrible second, Daniel was certain he'd committed some unforgivable breach of protocol, that he was about to be removed from the mission, or worse. But the Queen did not look angry. She looked stricken in an entirely different way, her golden eyes glassy with unshed tears as she watched her daughter's illuminated face. "Leora," she said quietly, "you found what I could not give you today." "Mother, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Leora began, but Saren was already crossing the distance, kneeling beside her daughter in a rustle of embroidered silk, uncaring of the guards, the treaty, the cameras that were surely somewhere on this ship. "No," Saren said. "Do not apologize for being happy." She looked up at Daniel, who remained frozen, unsure whether to bow, apologize, or simply disappear. "You are the engineer, Ashford." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Daniel Ashford." "I only meant—" "I know what you meant." Saren's voice cracked slightly. "I have spent 11 days convincing every delegate aboard this vessel that our two peoples share common values. And you have shown my daughter more compassion in one corridor than an entire negotiation table has managed in 11 days. She touched the edge of the plate, still warm from the extinguished candle. This is what the treaty should be built on. Not statements. This. Word of the moment spread quietly through the ship, not as scandal, but as something gentler. By the following morning, the human ambassador had reworked the closing ceremony to include a shared meal between both delegations, an idea the Queen herself insisted upon, citing, "A lesson I learned from a kind stranger and a birthday cake." Leora kept a small box after that, wherever she traveled. Inside it was not jewelry or a royal seal, but a single, carefully preserved birthday candle, its wick trimmed to remember the exact length it had burned. Whenever the pressures of her future throne felt too heavy, she would open the box and remember the corridor, the flame, and the man who had knelt down simply because a little girl was crying and nobody else had noticed. Daniel never asked for recognition. He didn't need it. He'd only wanted her to blow out one candle that was truly, entirely her own, and in doing so, he'd lit something between two worlds that no treaty could have written into law.